Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the capital gains that you're probably going to see on silver. And that's going to be the one place we're probably going to have a hell of a lot of taxes. And you notice he's looking up there because he's looking at Caesar. He's up there sleeping in his little cubby hole. Yeah, I want to say something about this type of cat first. You know, I've had several cats before, and I never had one of these. This guy's like, I think he's kind of mostly Abyssinian. He's like got the lines on his head, and he's got like dark, and it fades down to white on the bottom. You know, it's mostly Abyssinian. He's a clown. He's a clown, man. He's like a little dog. He runs all over the place. He's a maniac. He's funny. But anyway, he's gonna jump up there and bug the shit out of him. Watch. Shit. Find out in a second. Anyway, it's gonna be war of the worlds here in a second if that happens. But anyway, maybe not. They're getting along. But anyway, the capital gains on this guy's gonna drive this guy nuts, man. The other cat nuts. The capital gains are something to watch out for if the silver goes up a lot, because what's going to happen is, you know, if say silver goes up to past 100, right? There he goes. He knocks the camera around a little bit. It's going to happen where they're going to change the capital gains tax, but still, you know, they're not going to tax it at 100%. You know, that's the other thing. But they probably will raise it. You know, go from 15% up to 28% or 25% or whatever they're going to do. They're probably going to raise it. That's one thing I kind of expect, and that's going to be the downside, because, you know, say for instance, you know, you think it's at 100, you're going to pay $15 tax, and then all of a sudden it goes to, you know, 110, and all of a sudden you're over $30 tax, right? And you actually, you know what I mean? They changed the rate. In other words, even though it stayed at the same amount of money, that they changed the capital gains tax rate. And that's something out to watch out for. That's, you know, off in a distant horizon. But, you know, I also have to say something else. If you look at the most wealthy in the country, they actually got most of their money from not exactly innovating or business, or it's actually from capital gains. From capital gains. And he's eating his food. Anyway, so what's going to happen is they will turn out to be, hold on a second, I gotta get this guy out of here because he's going to eat all this cat's food. These two guys, where they're, you know, there's a doorway here, and it turns out that, you know, that's why I have them separate, because I don't want them getting into each other's stuff. But anyway, the capital gains is something that you're going to have to watch out for, because that's a good. We also have a past lesson from this. What happened during, you know, when they had the Iranian hostage crisis back in 1979. That was actually when we had the blow off top, and not just oil. Actually, it was oil went up a lot. They had an excise tax on it. Actually, what they did was an excise tax, and that's when we had the blow off top, and not just silver and gold, but also platinum and palladium. Platinum and palladium had similar gains percentage-wise. They almost all ran together. Silver, platinum, and palladium almost all had the same amount of percentage gains. Gold had a different percentage gains, but silver, platinum, and palladium all pretty much ran together during that 1979 time. But what they did tax was oil. They did tax oil, but the thing I'm looking at is, you know, they went immediately tried to attack the price of gold after that by bringing up the interest rates to almost 20%. But I don't think they're not going to be able to do that, right? They're not going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to say, "Oh, we're going to bring the interest rates up to 20% to bring down the price of gold." It's going to stay up. It's going to continue to climb. Now, eventually, I know it's going to go into a hyperbolic bubble, and it's going to get way, way, way far ahead of itself, and it's not going to stay up to something astronomically high. But what they'll do in that case is they'll probably tax the hell out of it to try to bring it down. You know. And it may actually go where the margin increases aren't even going to work too, because you know, the speculative bets are probably going to start. I don't know. I think the spot market's going to break. Tell you the truth, because, you know, I put out a video about and I'm going to put it down in the information box again. I always put it down there about this oil spot market and commodity price rigging. You know, they've been putting lawsuits forth about oil price spot marking rigging since 2002. And it's also related to all the metals and everything and all the commodities. And it's being put forth not just by some traders, it's being put forth by people who actually ran the whole deal. It's been known. It's been known. So, you know, at one point in time, you might, you know, some of these theories that people have been putting forth about, you know, spot price on the markets just not reflecting reality. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. Maybe something's going to bust at one point in time. And, you know, at that point in time, you know, raising the margins ain't going to mean nothing because people are going to say either you got it or you don't. Show me. Show me the metals, baby. You know what I mean? Show it to me or else forget about it. You know, I'm not going to buy anything. You know, that's what it might turn out to be. You know, who can you trust? So, you know, the only way they're actually be able to probably slam down the price then would be mainly through taxation, especially on the capital gains taxes. So anyway, that's something else to watch out for. Actually, the top tiny sliver of 1%, not the 1%, but of a small fraction of 1%. Actually, they make most of their money by capital gains, also being connected to the financial and banking system too. But you know, that also hints that they also have advanced knowledge of what the trends are and what's going to happen. Because there is some market rigging going on. There's almost no doubt about it, you know. It's almost like, you know, you could be right about something, but, you know, it's almost like when you're playing the market, it's like crossing the street. You know, you could be right that the coast is clear, you know, at a specific time, but if you step off the curb and there's a truck coming, you freaking forget about it, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a matter of, you know, but if you know the exact timing of the market, you can make a gazillion dollars. And I think there's people that are inside that are pulling the strings and they know what's going on. They'll keep their mouths shut as to what's going on. Like, quite obvious that, you know, when Ben Bernanke makes a speech, there are people privy ahead of time to what he's going to say. I mean, you have to be an idiot not to think that. I mean, that's, you think even like what he talks about, is it only from his own head, or is there a team of people around him and other people, you know, that they talk to, where the ideas came from? So they have a pretty good, there's always a group of people that know what he's going to say ahead of time, and they can play the market accordingly. So you can make a hell of, you know, you can make, that's where you can really make your money on capital gains more than anything. And, you know, there's other followers out there trying to speculate as to what's going to happen. But there's other people that actually have more inside information. No doubt about it. But if silver, gold, platinum, palladium, and everything goes up too damn high, they can't raise interest rates to bring it down, because that would kill everything in the economy. Because, you know, it would destroy the economy completely, and it would destroy the government, because the government would not be able to service the debt in any way, shape, or form. And, you know, it's probably going to come down to is if there's a lot of demand for these products, they're not going to be able to raise the margins the way they think, too, because I think there's going to be a lot of people saying they want the physical metals. They're not going to be screwing around, playing games, trying to speculate, you know, in electronic markets, because, you know, it's going to be a matter of them not trusting him at all, because, you know, if there's going to be that many people panic into the metals, which that would be why the price goes that high. Quite obviously, you know, you're not going to have a whole bunch of people just buy electronic silver and actually have the real deal at that point in time. I mean, right now there's a lot of silver backing up a lot of these funds that are electronic. But in the future, if there's a real panic into the metals, they're not going to be able to just buy it, like, you know, electronically and expect to be holding real silver. So, I mean, it's also going to reflect that, you know, how they're going to be messing around with the margin increases, too. Because it's going to be a matter of, you know, do you have it physically or not? You know, it's not like you're buying it on margin. Do you actually have it or not? That's what it's going to come down to. Now, also I want to say something about, if you do make a hell of a lot of money on your you know, potential speculative bet right now, and on silver, gold, platinum, palladium, or whatever, and you do make a lot of money, I do have to say it may be like something akin to maybe a lot of people who win the lottery, Actually, that's why they changed the lottery winners from one-time payment to being spread out over a bunch of installments, is because the lottery winners, actually with a one-time payment, it takes them only a few years and they're broke. They're broke. They're actually worse off than they are a few years later than if they went ahead and didn't even have the money at all. They never even had the money. It's because they will, basically they get too many people scamming them. Their egos take a hold and that type of stuff. And then even the smart people that retain the money, it's always been my observation, they usually have problems with other things, either family or women or divorces and all this other garbage. They usually have problems in other ways. So, if you get this money from silver, gold, or platinum and palladium, just keep it in, a nice, happy balance and perspective as to what you're going to do with it. Because actually one of my main emphasis has always been on health. And you might be looking more into that than you will on health, actually, because, really, if you have money, you want to be healthy to enjoy it, right? Now, I want to show you what my cat was over here before gobbling up down for food. I put out these cat vitamins. I take vitamins all the time in supplements and everything. These are Daily Best Cat Vitamins by, I don't know who the hell they're put out, by Pet Naturals or something. I'm not selling them or nothing, but cats eat these things up like a candy. So my other cat, Putin, had already had a couple of them, and he's eating the other guys over here while he's sleeping up here, Caesar. So I put a couple more of them out to it, but Caesar eats these things like candy too. He always eats these things. So anyway, if you actually do strike it rich on silver, I'd suggest that maybe you buy yourself some things that are with health, and maybe heated indoor swimming pool if you're in a freezing cold environment, so you can go swimming in the middle of the winter or something like that. That might be a nice capital investment to make, because it's almost like people are going to look at this and going to see money. And money is like, I don't know, it attracts the wrong kind of people. And you have to be very, very smart and shrewd, because as soon as you get money, there's a bunch of idiots around you freaking trying to play you. Oh, they're your best friends. I'm going to tell you this. The wisest thing you can do if you do make a lot of money on silver is do not show it. Do not show it. Do not show it. Like, in other words, drive an old car. Stay low profile. And you say, well, how do I enjoy it? Well, if you're that superfluous, you're going to lose your money anyway. But the thing is, you got to be down to earth. You got to stay down to earth. And that way you actually will not attract the users. Because you can always throw a little money out there. There's like a gazillion people come over and like they're your friends. You know what I mean? They're your friends all the way. So I mean, that's one of the most important things. If you're going to retain wealth later on, if you make it through the the hyperbolic bubble that happens, I think that's going to happen in silver, gold, platinum, and palladium, and you sell at the right time, and the capital gains taxes aren't so horrible, and you make a hell of a lot of money off of that stuff. The big step then is, even if you reinvest it correct, is watching people that get around you. That is extremely important, and that is one of the best reasons why you want to stay low profile. Also, staying low profile is, I've noticed that if you show that you have money, people will charge you accordingly. If you show you don't have money, they will cut you a little bit better deal. And that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. So anyway, take it from Rabbi Synergy, because I know a couple things here. And the whole point is that if you're going to have this kind of money, and you're going to be so you gain all this money from silver, gold, platinum, and palladium later on, unexpectedly, because right now it looks horrible. If you do gain all this money, if you change as a person, it's really not done you any well. It's not done you any good at all. So, you know, actually my emphasis is more on health than money, but I think about money too. You know, that's important too. And anyway, that's about all I got to say, because one thing I think that's going to come up in the future, big time, if we have major gains in the metals, is they're going to either put an excise tax on it, but I think they're going to do the capital gains tax, because they're going to try to tax the wealthy, because it's not just going to be the metals that go up. Like, I mean, I think the Dow is going to go reset and correct, but eventually the Dow is going to go to 20,000. So, you know, they're not going to just put an excise tax on one thing. They're going to have to put it across the board, and the best way to do that is through increasing the capital gains tax, so they can transfer the wealth from, you know, people who have to the have not. Now, personally, I'd rather see the wealth go for the people that have to the have not by doing construction projects and building something and making something, but it's probably going to go, because whenever it goes through the government, it never really goes right, you know. But we actually produce something, but, you know, it's probably what has to happen too, because, you know, some people that are really wealthy are extremely greedy. They are extremely greedy. So, you know, what the hell, tax them, right? Tax them too.